Hey, everybody. You knew that tonight's game was going to be a very difficult challenge after playing at home last night and making a trip to Denver, and it was. You look at the final score, 132 to 123, but this game was lost in the first half when the Nuggets put 74 on the board, including 40 in the first quarter. This is a schedule game. That's all there is to it. This is a schedule game. It happens in the NBA, and you got to live with it. That's just that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, we outlined it last night. I thought you did a beautiful job of saying what goes into it, and I give them a ton of credit. I really do. They fought really hard. Doug McDermott gives you one of those games. It's why you signed him. You get 1 in 82. I know he did it once in garbage time. And look, they didn't give up. So, Grant, it's a little bit of a moral win for him.
132 to 123. You knew the game was over after three quarters. You were down 25. And, the Nuggets, they kind of took the foot off the gas. And as you said, I give the Kings credit. The guys that were on the floor played very well. They cut into the lead. They actually made it very respectable where Michael Malone had to put the starters back in, right? So, yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, in fact, I would say they go on a 7-0 run to start the third quarter. So they come out of the gate swinging, Grant. They got the lead down to 12, and then they had 2 turnovers in a row and a really bad shot. And Denver converted on those 3 possessions, pushed it back to 18, and until Doug came in, the Kings didn't get any closer.
Well, and the other part of tonight is that the Dallas Mavericks had a big-time win. They went into Oklahoma City and they beat the Thunder on their home floor. There's still no Luka, and that's very, very surprising. The Mavericks won 121 to 115, so then they now go ahead of Sacramento. Portland beat the Magic. The Spurs over in Europe destroyed the Pacers 140 to 110. The Clippers are destroying the Wizards. They're going to win. And the Lakers in the third are on top of the Celtics 67 to 51. So keep that in mind. Warriors and Bulls are tied in the third. But back to the Kings game. Now you have 5 games left on this road trip, and you got to just find a way to win 3 of these 5 games, and it's a very good road trip.
Absolutely. And Grant, this is why it was important that they won last night.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. If they had lost last night, you would have been going, uh-oh, here comes the slide.
Here's the slide.
You're exactly right.
Yep. Walking into New York and you only got a day off. Absolutely. One interesting point here is it Doug McDermott possibly, and it wouldn't be major minutes, but it seems like Grant, Kevin Huerter's minutes might be a little bit up for grabs. He's not playing well. He's not playing much. Same goes for Devin Carter a little bit. Seems like he's forcing things. But maybe Doug played himself into an opportunity to earn some minutes on this team.
Well, if he is, that just once again illustrates how bad the Kings bench is, plain and simple. Doug McDermott should not be part of the rotation on this Kings team. And if he is, that's just another illustration of how Monty McNair needs to figure out a way to solidify this bench for the final 30 games of the season after the All-Star break. Because if not, you just can't depend on your starters every single night. You need help from the bench. And we know about Keon Ellis, but there needs to be other players that step up and get it done. Trey Lyles, very inconsistent. Kevin Huerter, very inconsistent, right? We talk about this almost every night.
100%. And we could even throw the starters in. Monk did not have a great game again tonight.
No.
Second game in a row. And how about De'Aaron? The last 3 games, and we'll get to his finger in a second, 25 for 63 from the floor.
Well, as far as the injury goes, everyone knows that he has an injured pinky. I would also wager to say that the vast majority of guards in the NBA have fingers that are less than optimal and less than normal. Okay, so let's just call that the way it is. De'Aaron's not on the injury report. So that means there's no thought of him not playing. It's not even probable where that's 75%. He's not on the injury report because his injury is more of how do I want to say this? It hurts. Okay. It hurts more of an injury. In other words, an injury could possibly keep you out of the lineup, right? Like you're dealing with something that might prevent you from playing. This injury is not preventing him from playing, nor based on what my understanding is, will it prevent him from playing? The question is, how does it affect him when he's on the floor? And why is it that we only talk about his pinky on nights when he doesn't play well, but
That's a
when he
good point.
plays well, nobody mentions it. Why is that?
I'm going to give some people credit. Almost every night, oh, that turnover is because of the finger, but that's partly because he has a finger wrapped. It's the easy thing to point to. Yeah, the pain affecting him's one thing, Grant. But at what point does the team say, "Hey, it's kind of affecting the team because you're the point guard, you're the left-handed shooter, and this is on your left hand."
Well, then okay, who's to say that? First of all, I'm not a doctor. You're not a
Right.
doctor. I don't have the diagnosis in front of me. Maybe maybe taking off a week's not going to do anything to his finger. Like that,
Right.
this might be something that you have to deal with in the off season.
Right. Yeah.
So you just can't assume. I'm reading between the lines of what you're saying.
Sure.
Correct me if I'm steering you in the wrong direction,
No,
but I
you are.
think you're intimating why not sit him down for a while. Correct?
Well, I'm saying you either have to look for a scheme that puts the ball in somebody else's hands most of the time, which to the Kings' credit, they've done for the most part with Malik Monk running the point more than him. But, at some point, this is not his normal shooting. He's visibly grimacing at times, and he's having turnovers, Grant, almost on a nightly basis now that
Yes.
are like, okay, I see where that happens. And quite frankly, when he's on the bench in 3 games, they're a plus 17 and a half. I don't
Okay.
think he,
Okay. Did you notice any issue with his pinky on left hand last night when he went 10 of 10 from the foul line?
yes, he was dealing with it all game, but no,
No,
it
but I
didn't
mean,
affect his free
did you
throw
notice
shooting.
any grimacing? Did you notice
No.
any abnormality in his shot from the foul line, 15 feet from the basket, 10 of 10?
Yeah, but it's a controlled environment. The ref's
Yeah, I
tossing
know,
you the
but you're
ball.
still using the same mechanism to shoot the ball.
Absolutely. I understand. I guess I'm likening it to a quarterback with a thumb injury on his throwing hand. It's tricky because it's not on the injury report. We're speculating. You said we're not doctors, but I mean, we've seen De'Aaron Fox for how many years? 7 years now. When something seems to be a little bit off. And first off, I want him to be well too. It's a tough injury. It's a really
Well,
tough one.
the reality is he's planning on playing through it because he hasn't sat down because of it.
Yeah.
The Kings now go to New York to take on the Knicks, where De'Aaron always plays well at Madison Square Garden. I can't tell you how many times I did a game at the Garden where we were interviewing Fox on the post game because he had torched the Knicks. He loves playing in New York.
Something about New York in that
Yeah.
building was your favorite, right?
Uh, there's nothing like Madison Square Garden, period. There's just that you there. I don't really know how to put it into words. When you walk into the Garden, there's just a different vibe. There is a different energy. It's special when you walk into Madison Square Garden. I don't know what else to say. It is just absolutely special. And the players understand the significance of playing in that building. The coaches will tell you the same thing. It is just a special environment. Not the loudest, just special.
It was rocking
And
last year.
huh?
It was rocking last year.
Oh yeah. Well, when I say not the loudest, the Knicks haven't had a lot to cheer about
Yeah.
up until last year. So I'll tell you, when the most exciting time that I remember being at Madison Square Garden as an announcer for the Kings. I've been at the Garden for, I was there for Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and nothing will ever top that when the Rangers beat Vancouver in 1994. But I was there in the height of Linsanity,
Oh yeah, that's right.
and I had never felt the Garden like that in all of my years of announcing a Kings-Knicks game. The energy during Linsanity, when Jeremy Lin played there, was absolutely off the freaking hook. It was unbelievable.
Wow, that's a great point. Many will remember, if you don't remember that game, the game against the Lakers and Kobe
Yes.
when he had that national TV
Yes.
coming out party. All right, I'm not going to go with the gloss. I'm just going to say number 1. You're on with Grant and Ryno.
Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up?
How are
buddy?
you?
Just to start with De'Aaron, I think the finger, it's one of those things that magically flares up when you're playing a little bit worse. I'm a Knicks fan and a Kings fan. Jalen Brunson left-handed player, dominant left hand. He has his fingers taped every game, and he still finds a way to contribute. So, I don't know if you guys think that the pinky is that hindering.
I'm not in position. There's nobody on this stream that is able to answer that question because it's not on our hand. It's on his hand, and only he knows. So it
Right.
doesn't do any good to speculate how much it bothers him, when it bothers him, based on, first of all, number one, how it looks. It really doesn't matter how his pinky looks. That's irrelevant to the discussion. The only thing that matters is the functionality. Is that a word? Of his
Yeah.
pinky. Like, okay, that's the only thing that matters. It really doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter, if it's taped together. None of that matters. All that
Right.
matters is, does it function well enough for him to go out and play the way he wants to play? That's really what it boils down to.
That makes sense. Also, can we stop slandering Doug?
No, he can't. No, he can't. He can't. So the fact that he shot the ball well tonight, big deal. So what? It means nothing. Okay. It means nothing. There is a reason why the guy was available and not on any roster in the NBA. There's a reason why he gets DNPs almost every single night that the Kings play. Doesn't mean that he's not a professional basketball player. It doesn't mean that he's not one of the best 400 players in the world. It just means that he's your 12th or 13th man. And if you try to make him anything other than that, you're kidding yourself. That's what it comes down to.
I have nothing to add to that, but if you're going to do something like that and you're going to start the argument or you're going to drop your best line, don't drop off the call line as soon as you drop it. Stay on. Have the debate with us. Come on.
Yeah, have the debate. I'm not anti Doug McDermott. I've never met him. I don't have anything against him. I'm just painting the picture. I've said this for decades on my radio show in Sacramento, and now I'm saying it over these years on this forum. If you don't like that, being a good professional athlete, forget about college, forget about high school. We're talking about the pros now, is about consistency. It's about consistency because you have 82 games. And the players that are consistent are the ones that play every night. There's a reason why Doug McDermott is not playing very much. He's not playing because of his inconsistency, not only with his shot this year, but the other aspects of the game. He is a very poor defensive player. That factors into it. So I'm not anti-Doug McDermott, but what he did tonight means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing to me. Go do it again on Saturday when you're at Madison Square Garden if you get an opportunity. Then do it again the next game when you get an opportunity. And if you're able to put together a couple of games, I'll change my view on it. But until then, it is what it is.
Yeah, see, I disagree slightly. That's where you and I kind of go separate ways because one, he's shown up. He's being a professional. Guy has not played in how long, and that's part of his job. I get that. But the Kings are in the midst of this run. You come in a game that's dead, and you provide. You bring them back. And to me, that's exactly why it depends on expectations. If you expected Doug to come in here and play 20 minutes a night, then you got to check those. But that's why you have Doug McDermott on the team. That's exactly why he's there, and he did it. So I'm good with it. He did his job. It's like Keon playing defense. It's like De'Aaron dishing assists and scoring buckets. That's, to me, what he's signed to do. Okay.
I don't disagree with anything you just said. Now, one thing, but I didn't say he wasn't being professional.
No, I know.
Okay,
I didn't.
Your first point to me is the most valid one, is the fact that he has not been playing, and yet when he had his number called on, he was ready to play and played at a very high level. And I totally agree with you about that aspect of being ready, because there are a lot of players that I've seen, not only in the NBA, but other pro sports, that get kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
And it affects them. He's not like that. So I'm with you. And I think having, a dad as a coach and being in that basketball pedigree and, I think that's helped him. But you made a good point. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to imply that you weren't saying he was professional. It's just the more of it impressed me because he followed through with what he's supposed to do.
All right, well, let's see if Doug Christie gives him time in New York, and let's see. Okay, because I will tell you this, the Knicks now will have a little bit more attention towards him,
Sure.
thinking that Doug Christie will play him off the bench
Very true.
in that game. So let's see how he handles that, because the Knicks are a very good defensive team, Ryan.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, Grant. Very well said. And you got to give both of those guys, too, just to put a little cherry on this one. Doug McDermott and Jay Crowder, they've been excellent for the young guys this year.
They have.
They have been so good.
Yeah. One thing I want to do real quickly before we move on, and you're 100% correct about what Crowder and McDermott do in terms of being professional with the younger players. The Kings now drop from 7 to 9. And they're even in the loss column. You ready for this? They're even in the loss column with Dallas, Minnesota, and Phoenix. So the Kings with the Mavs, the Timberwolves, and the Suns all have the same number of losses. And here's something you must remember as we get towards the All-Star break and March and April. Tiebreakers. Do not forget the significance. The Kings have already lost the tiebreaker with the Lakers.
Yep.
They've already dropped 2 games to Minnesota. They've won the 1 game against Dallas, and they have the tiebreaker over Phoenix. So keep in mind these head-to-head matchups coming up with Minnesota and Dallas. Do not dismiss them.
Spot freaking on. I would say out of the teams that you mentioned with the tiebreakers, the Lakers worries me the least. I'm more worried about Minnesota, probably Minnesota first, probably Phoenix second, and then the Lakers third. So let's kick it back to you. Jeff, what's up tonight?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
How are you?
Trying to stay warm, but I'm doing well. So I don't know if y'all noticed it. I'm not trying to make an excuse for Fox, but in that first half, there was a reach-in foul on Jokic that seemed like it really aggravated that hand or that pinky. So it was already an issue, but I think after that, you could definitely see his shot was slipping. Ball handling was way off. And I don't know if it needs extra time or like it's one of those nuisance, painful things you got to kind of work through. But it was a fun game to watch. I thought we were dead. And, we ended up fighting our way back to making it, at least we can hang our heads up a little bit higher than usual. So
it
was fun to watch. But under New York, you can't wait too long. You can't dwell on it. You got to keep pushing. So.
Yep. Absolutely. You got another game, and then you got, you forget about this game and move on, get some rest and take care of yourself. All right. So Ryan, let me just follow up on one thing here.
Yeah.
What will be interesting with all of the banter and what we are talking about, will Fox show up on the injury report for the Knicks game?
Why would he?
Well,
unless
because it looked to me like I'm only going by what I'm seeing on social media, that it looked like he injured his thumb a little bit in the game tonight.
Yeah, that's true. On his other hand, on his right hand. Absolutely. Yeah, he possibly could. It's a way that you could do it if something's wrong there. I think one thing that I want to kind of explain, and if you played basketball, you understand it. I'm qualified to speak about this because I'm a left-hander. I'm not qualified to what De'Aaron's injury is. But if you're a lefty and that's on this side of your hand where a lot of the dribbling happens, a lot of the control can be on your pinky, it's an injury, Grant, where if you're catching passes, it's constantly getting hit. If you're dribbling the ball on your strong hand, it's constantly getting hit. Look, you can shoot up an ankle. You can shoot up another part of the body and play through a game with discomfort without always being reminded that it's there. And I wonder to you were an athlete as well, how much that plays into playing hurt.
It does factor into it. I played with a badly sprained foot my sophomore year in lacrosse in college, and it changed everything. But I've never had a hand injury of significance. I have jammed my thumb before, but there's some valid points from the chat line. Let's say that his finger is bothering him, and let's, for sake of conversation, say that it's affecting his shot. Let's just, for sake of conversation, put that out there. Why did he take 24 shots tonight?
Trying to be De'Aaron Fox. That's what he does.
Well, but if, and I'm only saying if, I'm speculating here,
absolutely,
which I normally don't like to do, but if his finger, let's just talk about tonight, let's not talk about last night or previously. Let's say that his hand was bothering him a little bit more than normal. Why is he taking 24 shots?
He's got to answer that. I'm not sure. Maybe it was the best shot on the floor. Most
I
times
know why.
it's not.
I know why.
All
Because he
NBA?
feels that his hand and his finger is not affecting his shot at all.
Mm.
Right? That's why he's taking 24 shots, because he doesn't feel that it's impacting the ability for his shot to go into the basket. That's why.
Do you think it's kind of unfair in a way that there's so much attention on this? Because it got slammed down people's throats tonight on the telecast. De'Aaron was asked about it earlier this week. It seems like there's a lot of attention there. Would this be, had it never come up and De'Aaron didn't share it, a non-story within the building if you were there?
I don't think so. I think that people would be able to see the percentages and go from there. The other aspect of what you just said, the fact that De'Aaron made it public and it is public, don't think that the Knicks are not aware of that.
Oh yeah.
They're going to go under on screens. They're not going to guard him on the perimeter like they normally do, and they're going to attack that hand.
Oh, they probably would have already with the pick and roll, the way they play, physical. Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. And defensively, I mean, basketball, it's different than any sport. I mean, I guess it's not different in this sense, Grant. If you're an athlete, you react. Even if something's hurt, the ball's coming, you're going to react to it. So there's just no way to shelter it. I mean,
somebody says you're not saying why he must think that. I don't need to tell you. You know why? It's called common sense. That's why. If you're taking 24 shots in a game, you're taking them because you feel that you can make them. Okay? If you had an injury that was affecting your ability to make the shot, you wouldn't take 24. It's common sense.
There you go. Let's bring Jay in on the conversation. What's up, Jay?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm kind of with Grant a little bit on the De'Aaron Fox situation. It's like, if you're not good enough to play or healthy enough to play, then don't play. Like, I don't want to hear any excuses about it. Like, if you're out there on the floor and you put a jersey on tonight and you expect to go out and play, I expect you to go out and produce and be productive on the floor. If you're going to sit here and, you know, that's my situation when I think fans are kind of critiquing and almost making excuses for him. If it hurts that bad, don't play. Like, I'm going to have to say the C word, Ryno. We're probably not we're not a championship team this year. If you have to get surgery on your finger, so be it. I mean, we're not competing whether we make playoffs or not, we're not going to win a championship. Get surgery, fix your finger. If it really
if you have surgery, he's not going to be traded before the trade deadline. I can 100% guarantee you that. When there's a lot of speculation about him being part of a deal, that would not happen.
Well, it only hurts his value in the offseason. That's a great point, Grant.
Of course it hurts his value.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's going to buy. Someone like Houston would buy for sure.
Houston's not going to buy. Houston doesn't need De'Aaron Fox. Have you watched them play? Have you seen their record?
Well, I'm just going off of what I'm hearing off
why would Houston want De'Aaron Fox?
They want a star, apparently.
Well, they got the second best record in the conference, and they're young.
Very true as well. And then I wanted to point out
San Antonio makes a lot more sense than Houston to me.
I agree. San Antonio would make a lot more sense. But I wanted to point out something, and I'm not sure if people noticed. I was watching the Wizards game with my friend, and this was before the fourth quarter, and garbage time came. I'm looking, and I'm waiting for the rotations in the second half, right? Normally the rotations are pretty predictable. Yep. You have your regular rotation. And I'm like, guess who hasn't came in the game in the second half and who's a part of, or used to be a part of the rotation? Kevin Huerter. And he got in during garbage time, but that's besides the point. Warriors, he plays 6 minutes, doesn't touch the second half. And Ryno, I'm not sure if I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure he didn't play the whole second half.
I've been talking about it at length the last couple days.
Really?
Last few games, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he played the second half tonight. So it's kind of, I don't know what the message is or what the reasoning is. And I wanted to get your input on, I mean, obviously we know if you can upgrade Kevin Huerter, he's just not cutting it for this team. I've been saying this since the playoff run that we had over a year ago. And I want to get your thoughts on, now that we have a new head coach, if Mike Brown was still coaching, I guarantee you Kevin Herter is playing more than 6 minutes. But what message does that say as Doug Christie is the head coach to the front office? Is it saying, hey,
It's
I
a
have a
very simple message. If you're not playing well, I'm not playing you. It's that.
Yeah.
That's the message. End of conversation. That's the message.
Okay.
And Doug gave him that. Mike Brown gave him a little bit of a bigger nod, putting him back in the starting lineup to start the season. But Doug gave him that opportunity. Kevin's
Sure he
been
did.
part of the rotation. It's been clear he's played his way out of it.
That's
It's
exactly right. He's
it's
played
kind
his
of
way out of it. That's exactly right.
consistently regressing as far as, I mean, you start as a starter in the beginning of the season, and now you're at the back of the bench, pretty much. I mean, you're just as good as Jay Crowder right now on the bench, and it's like, is it almost forcing the Kings front office to make a move because it's $17 million sitting on that bench? That's an expensive bench right there, and you don't want to pay that for a whole nother year for a guy who's going to give you 6 minutes a game.
Well, in order to trade somebody, there has to be a team out there that wants them. So it takes two to tango. You just can't trade a player because you don't like them. You have to have a deal that works and makes sense. And in order to trade Kevin Herter with the way he's playing right now, you're going to get another Kevin Herter back in return. Okay, you're going to get
That's what I was
somebody
gonna
that's in the
say.
same boat on another team, and you're hoping that a change of scenery will change the way that individual is playing.
That is,
I think the more interesting question, I'll ask both of you really quick, is this success that they've had under Doug Christie, does it change the approach to this trade deadline? I know my opinion on it, but could you see a situation where it's like, in that article with Shelbourne, it said, we still like the roster that we have. It was probably the coach. Doug has him playing. Do we roll? We've won how many games in 13 or 14? Why switch it up right now? What do you guys say to that?
I totally agree with you, but the trade deadline isn't today. It's still a little bit in front of us. And you have, what was the number that you said last night? 17 of 23 beginning tonight on the road?
Yep.
Okay. Not all those games are going to be played before the trade deadline, but we're assuming, I believe you're assuming that this trend is going to continue with a lot more wins than losses. If that is the case, then I would say no, you wouldn't make moves at the deadline. You would stand pat unless you can make a minor move of nature to solidify your bench.
Jay?
I would say that probably is the reality of what Grant is saying, but in my case, I would hope it's not. You see that there is potential with this core, and there was probably hesitation before they went on this winning streak and turned the season around about making a move and kind of trading a first-round pick and somewhat going all in with a losing squad, right? That's just redundant. It's stupid. But now that
go ahead.
Oh, I was just
I
saying, now
think
that
the Kings team was not nearly as bad as they played under Mike Brown, and I don't think they're nearly as good as they played under Doug Christie. That's my opinion on this team.
Interesting.
I don't disagree with that. I think that taking that into consideration, you see a balance, right? Because they're overperforming and then they were underperforming. So you can assume that they're where they should be. And with that being said, it's kind of, you do want to make a move, and it's kind of, I mean, I think it would be smart to make a move. You guys agree that, I mean, they're kind of when now you get a guy like DeMar DeRozan in the offseason who's 35 years old. These guys are reaching the primes of their career, just getting into the prime of their career. You want to make a move if you can. And I think winning almost kind of, I agreed that the reality of the situation is that there's probably someone in the front office saying, hey, let's not make a move, like Grant said. But I think on the other side of the coin, you should be willing to make the move and say, you know what, they're not as bad as they were doing before. I'd be more willing to make a change. And obviously tonight, you saw what happened, 25 points or 24 points.
Tonight's a schedule game. I wouldn't put too much into tonight's game, Jay.
Right, but that's just to show, like we always talk about the bench. If, like I said, I can't have $17 million sitting on the bench and giving me
every
nothing.
team's got it. Every team's got $17 million. Well, they do. I'm just telling you. I mean, look around the league and look at salaries. There are guys that are making a lot more than that don't play. Jay, we're going to roll, buddy.
Thank
It's
you.
always good hearing from you. You have a good night, all right? I want to tell you about New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They are available 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Folks, the number on your screen, newworksplumbing.com is what I use, NEWWRXplumbing.com or sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. And don't forget about Bennett's. They have phenomenal seafood and steaks, prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. See, I'm doing this to upset Ryno and going to get him to maybe, get down to Bennett's tomorrow.
Or eat my screen.
Bennett's American Cooking. Don't forget about their West Side Grill in Rockland, their location in Roseville and in Sacramento. Prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com to make a reservation. bennettsrestaurants.com. We appreciate Brian and everything they do at Bennett's. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. And one other thing, a rant with Grant is coming up in a couple of moments. So give me some ideas on the chat line for a rant with Grant.
I like it. Oh, by the way, we got the answer here. De'Aaron Fox is in the chat. He chimed in, but he's talking in third person. Fox dislocated his left pinky in training camp. Yes, we understand. I don't know if I don't think it was ever announced it was a dislocation. Did you hear that, Grant?
Nope.
Yeah. So we knew it was dinged up, but thanks, De'Aaron. Appreciate you.
And how many games has De'Aaron missed because of any injury to his hand this year? The number is 0.
0. Exactly right. PK.
Just remember, I want to make an analogy here. 2 seasons ago, when Domantas Sabonis had his thumb injury, people were talking about he needs surgery and he needs this and he needs that. He missed 1 game, 1 game because of that injury, and was on the All-Star team and was a double-double machine. He was able to play through it, yet everyone was saying, well, he needs to have surgery, he needs this, he needs that. Let the players decide whether they can play or not, okay? Don't do it for them. And don't assume because you have a torn ligament in your thumb, like Sabonis did, that you can't play. And don't assume because your pinky isn't straight that it is at an angle that you can't play. Players play all the time with finger injuries in basketball, all the time.
Well said, Grant. Very well said. Speaking of Sabonis, I just got to ask you a question really quick.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll make you laugh. These microphones, you guys didn't have them as much around the rims when you were calling games, did you? Or was it just kind of
not at the beginning of my time during the NBA, but after that, about halfway through, yes, they were on every rim in the NBA, and it's up to the people in the truck to determine. It's called effects, and a lot of times I would go to an arena and the effects would be way too loud on my headset, and I would tell my producer turn, or my director, I would go, Bertie, turn the effects down. Okay, so that's all controlled by the TV truck and what you're hearing when you watch a game. But go ahead.
Yeah, good to know. Good information. Yeah, well, Malik, obviously we hear him a lot, but I'm going to ask you, is this Domantas Sabonis or Chewbacca?
What did I just listen to?
Is it Domas or Chewbacca? You guys decide in the chat. The answer coming up here in a little bit. PK, what's up tonight?
Hey guys. Hey Grant. Hey Ryan.
What's up?
Hi there.
Hey guys. I'm so pissed off. Listen, Fox has been for the last 3 years has been the top defender at his position, like top 5 defender in the league in this position. And since he came back from injury this year, he is checked out. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Do you think Fox is checked out? Because the defense on Fox is horrendous.
Let me ask you a question. How many all defensive teams has De'Aaron Fox made in his career, or particularly in the last 3 years?
But he used to hustle at least.
The number is 0. He's
walking around the court.
0.
Grant. he's like shooting up, just putting up shots on offense. No more defense. He's like, do you guys think that he's checked out? That's my question.
No, I don't think he's checked out. No,
You
I don't
so?
think he's checked. No, I do not. I do not think he's checked out.
Where's he? He's lost though.
You know what, PK? I'll meet you a little bit in the middle. I don't think he's checked out either, but there might be a little bit of that lost going on, wondering where exactly he fits in with all of this. Where's
I don't
his
disagree with
spots
that.
to pick?
Yeah. It just seems like he's like lost. As soon as we added DeRozan, he's just like, it seems like he's just like trying to find his place.
PK, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
I don't think he's checked out. I think that's too strong of terminology. He has not checked out. Is he playing the way he's capable of? No, he's not. Can we agree on that?
100%. He's never been an assist machine. He's out there playing defense. He's hustling. I think what people are, because of the shooting, I think a lot of people are hyper focused on De'Aaron. And if you have not watched him closely throughout the years, he gambles a lot. You're going to pick these things up, but it's nothing new. It's not him quitting.
Bad night in the standings because the Warriors are going to beat the Bulls. They're killing them. The Lakers are going to beat the Celtics. The Clippers are going to beat the Wizards. The Spurs already beat the Pacers. The Trailblazers won. The Mavericks won over the Thunder. And the Kings lost. Obviously, that's what we're talking about. So not a good night in the West. Now, this will change from night to night. You got to be careful not to make too much out of it. But this thing's going down to the wire. It's the same as last year, Ryan. We're in the same position as last year. The only difference is, I think the numbers to get in this year in terms of wins are going to be lower than they were last year. 46 wins didn't get it done last year. If you got 46 wins this year, you're in.
So are you taking this team in the position they're in now with the bench that's not really there, Fox dinged up, or are you taking last year's team in that position?
I'm taking last year's team.
Why?
Without the injuries, by the way, at the end of the year to Monk and Herter, okay? Like that was significant. You agree?
I do. Yep, absolutely.
I think this team has really missed Harrison Barnes. And I think they've really missed Davion Mitchell.
Do they get back to the free throw line the way they have?
I do like the free throws this year. That has been a big improvement. I don't disagree with that.
It has. Yeah, it's a good conversation because they are in similar positions.
Okay, but I'll ask you. And you take this year's team or last year's team?
I'm taking this year's team. I'll give you the reason on the back end. Phil, what's up tonight?
Hey, what's up? I think I want to kind of change the pace of the conversation tonight because I know what Grant was talking about last night with that travel. They were loading up for, what is it, a 6-game road trip, right, Grant? And loading up all that cargo. I want to give credit to them for coming back and winning that game last night with all that travel on their minds. I think that gives more credit to the win last night. I think we got to gloss over this game right here because of the fact that they got in at 3 a.m.
3:30
settled into their hotel room.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
I doubt very much that anybody that was playing in the game last night was thinking about the upcoming travel. That's just my experience, but I may be wrong.
Okay, well, I trust you more than myself.
I mean,
be careful.
Once your job starts. No, I really mean this. And whether I'm doing a game on TV or whether you're an athlete playing, once you're not really thinking about where you're going after the game and you're going to be gone for 2 weeks. And, that's really not entering your mind. It might be before the game when you're packing and deciding what you're going to take and you look at the weather forecast and you have to get prepared that way. Yeah, that does happen. Absolutely. But once your job starts, it's not really in your mind.
Yeah, you're right. You're right there. But my point more was let the story be told in these next, how long is this road?
Yeah, 5 more games after tonight.
Let the story be let the story be told then. I'm really interested to see how they respond after this game. I mean, I know they got a long road trip across the country, but you know what? We're going to get some rest and let's get it done. I'm pretty excited to see what happens and let's go.
Love it. Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Well, the Knicks have not been playing great. I mean, they're 5-5 in their last 10. They have won 2 in a row. All right. Before we took that caller, you told me you would take this year's team over last year's team. And I just want to finish before I throw it to you. Last year's team won 46 games.
I understand. I get that. It's a different West this year, although similar, but different in certain ways. Last year's team couldn't execute in the half court. They just couldn't. And I feel like this team, especially now that they've gone away from the DHO, or at least gone away from the dribble handoff as the main offense, they're going more around the pick and roll. You have DeMar DeRozan. I feel like as the game slows down, the season slows down, they can execute when it matters if it turns into a half court game.
I don't disagree with that. I think they can play better in the half court. I just look at the bad part of this year, and I didn't think the Kings were as bad as they played. And I also think that as good as the Kings have looked in the win column, they've gotten every single break in the freaking world during this run, with the exception of the Boston game, where I thought they went in there and just played tremendous basketball for 4 quarters. I thought it was their most consistent performance of the year. And I gave them an A+ for that game. But they got every single break that you could have during that win streak. I mean, let's not, discount that.
Yeah, but Grant,
they took full advantage of it. Something that, by the way, they didn't do last year. They lost to Detroit last year, Ryan. They lost to Washington last year. They lost, how many bad losses did the Kings have last year? And Ryan, they still won 46. Think about that for me.
Yeah, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. I think it speaks to the strength of the bench, because when you lost Monk and you had other guys dinged up, Fox and Sabonis were playing with sprained ankles, that bench stepped up and did what they needed to do to get the team into the play-in. But as for the breaks that they've gotten, Grant, look, those breaks have happened last year. They happened the playoff year. That's why it became a thing. If the star's out, then the Kings are in trouble.
Yep, true. And I think DeMar DeRozan's the biggest difference in that particular category.
No doubt. No doubt. He's played incredible the last few games. He has had a great couple of weeks. And again, we go back to the Sabonis guy that Sabaka, who we hardly ever talk about these days, because he's just what you said, so consistent all the time.
Yep. Again, 132 to 123, the final. Happy to have everybody on board, taking your phone calls, breaking this down, and we'll be doing the same for every game on this road trip. Don't forget about Sunrise Landing in Calusa, the newest residential community in Calusa. And this is a Blazona development project in Calusa with a great location adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club, 6 models to choose from. And guess what, folks? No Mellorews, no homeowners. You're going to love that. Good access, I-5, right?
Oh, great.
Highway 20, Highway 45. It's all there for you at CalusaSunrise.com and beautiful Sunrise Landing. Check it out today. Again, CalusaSunrise.com. Let's get to some more phone calls.
Let's do it. Our man Herb has been waiting a while. Hello, Herb.
Hi, how are you guys doing tonight?
Ryan, give him instructions on the volume, would you please?
No, we're not bringing Herb back up.
Okay.
Thanks, Herb.
Herb, see you, Herb. What did you take away? What's the one thing? Do you just forget what you watched tonight because of this was a schedule game, or do you take some things out of this game for the rest of this road trip?
Not much. I take the fact that they kept fighting. That is one good thing that I take. One bad thing that I take is this is a third team in the last 5 games that has spread them out defensively. That's exactly what Milwaukee did, which led to that 47-point quarter. And almost every time it's happened, it's not ended well for the Kings. So I'm hoping that doesn't show up on tape. But that's about it for me. You?
Tonight's game went exactly the way I thought it would go.
Yeah.
There's nothing that happened tonight that I wasn't expecting after living through the travel of playing Denver on a second night of a back-to-back. It is the worst back-to-back in the entire NBA. Now, coming the other way is not bad because you gain an hour and all of that. But when you're on a 6-game road trip, and I talked about this, I was reading Gary Gerald's social media post. They didn't get the bags until 3:35 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's significant.
Absolutely. They did a walkthrough this, and you lose an hour, which you said earlier. They did a walkthrough at about 10:15 this morning.
Are you sure
So
about that?
fairly sure
I
within
find that
about
hard to
15
believe.
or 30
I
minutes.
find that very hard to believe. If they did it, I think they would have done it during the brunch in a conference room at the hotel. That's what you
So,
normally do.
yeah, well,
There's no way they went to the arena this morning. No way.
no. They did a walkthrough at the hotel. They didn't go to a shoot around. They did not have a shoot around. It was at the hotel.
Yeah, but I doubt it was at 10:15 in the morning. I would find that shocking.
Okay. Well, I very well could be wrong then.
Yeah.
That's what was passed along on the telecast. So, all right. Let's see. You got a rant yet? Did you see any good ideas in the chat?
I'm going to do one here in a minute. When you
Okay.
said you heard that on the telecast, you're talking about from the Kings announcers?
Correct.
At 10:15 in the morning, I don't believe that.
All right.
I would say
Fair
that
enough.
did not happen. And if it did happen, that's a big mistake by Doug. Okay. And Doug's done a great job, and I acknowledge he's done a great job. I find that didn't, that makes no, I would say that did not happen.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, maybe they had the time off. Who knows?
Well, I just, the fact that you got your bags after playing a game at 3:30 in the morning, and by the time you get settled, it's 4 in the morning. You're telling me you're going to wake up the guys in 6 hours or less to have a walkthrough in the hotel? That makes zero sense to me.
Okay, you gotta get food in you, number one. So you mentioned brunch, but
Not after 6 hours of sleep, you don't need to get food in you.
Well, when are you gonna get food in you?
At the brunch. That's what they
That's
have.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Well,
but not at 10 in the morning.
what time do you consider brunch? Like 1?
For a team that got in at 3:30 in the morning, generally that would be in the neighborhood of 11:30 to noon.
Okay, fair enough. I'm trying to plan this out because those guys are creatures of habit. You got to have time to get your nap in. You got to have time to get to the arena. So you figure it couldn't have been any later probably than 11:30. Would you think?
Oh, no, but okay, let's say it was at 10:15. Now I understand why Denver scored 74 points in the first half. I get it now.
Very interesting.
If it was at 10:15, that is a colossal, stupid mistake by the organization. That is just dumb. There's just no other way to say it. Dumb.
All right. Baki wants us to break format.
In what way?
He's saying Djokovic just retired.
Wow. He retired? Well, yeah, the Australian Open. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. What is a walkthrough? A walkthrough is, you just go over the scouting report in the banquet room at the hotel. That's all. And it takes literally 30 minutes. You just go over really a lot of the sets that Denver will do, what they like to run, certain situations and like that. All right. Ranting all day long. I don't rant all day long. Just sometimes.
So speaking of Denver really quick, one thought that crossed my mind watching Jokic tonight, how long do you think he can play like this in the league? I know he's got to get up and down the court, but the intensity on the joints, it's not like a guard that's jumping through the roof, and he's just so damn good and big, Grant.
For quite a while, to be honest with you. I mean, he's for quite a while, which is not good news for the rest of the Western Conference. He's just freaking good, isn't he?
He's incredible. His 3-pointer from 3/4 court. Nobody's guessing. Ryno. It's what was said on the telecast, my man. Everybody else is backing that up.
And other people are backing you up by saying that Katie said that on the telecast. I just find that shocking.
So
I'm just telling you, I find that shocking.
Well, yeah.
In all my years of traveling, getting in at 3:30 in the morning, I've never experienced players having to be downstairs at the banquet room at 10 in the morning after getting in at between 3:30 and 4 in the morning.
Yeah, because if you're getting your bags at 3:30, you're probably not going to bed till
most coaches. You know what most coaches do?
Yeah.
and this is not a knock on Doug, I'm just giving you the facts. Most coaches will have a closed environment at the arena for 30 minutes between, let's say, whatever's available. For the road team, that would normally be for a 7:00 game, 5 to 5:30 or whatever. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to the arena. I've been kicked out of arenas when I'm doing my show courtside when teams have walkthroughs like that. And I've had
heard
to
that.
literally have a makeshift broadcast set up for me on the concourse behind the curtains because they have not allowed me to be there when they're going through that walkthrough.
Very interesting. Yeah, I've heard your show in the past where you have to move and figure it out. So, all right, what's the rant going to be? What's it going to be? I'm interested now.
All right. Let's do it. All right.
Let's do it.
Well, do you have a suggestion for me? I have one, but did you have one for me tonight? You're very good at these.
Yeah, no, I actually don't tonight.
Right.
On you.
All right. Want to tell you that a rant with Grant is brought to you by EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. David and Adam, just two guys trying to do something different and better, a long overdue concept. And if you go to edhmotors.com, you can check out their inventory and what they have available. But keep in mind, if you don't find what you're looking for, no problem. David and Adam will get it for you. And you'll take delivery at their beautiful auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. So go to edhmotors.com. You'll find everything you need at EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. I want to get back to De'Aaron Fox for a moment. Why is it that fans only want to talk about his pinky when he does not shoot the ball well? We had someone talk about he injured the pinky in training camp. How come you didn't talk about his pinky when he scored 60 points? How come you didn't talk about his pinky when he scored 9 the next day? How come you didn't talk about his pinky when he was the Western Conference Player of the Week? How come you don't talk about his pinky when he ends up scoring 30 points and has a very good shooting percentage? How come we didn't talk about his pinky last night when he went 10 of 10 from the foul line? But we're going to talk about it tonight because he was 7 of 24. Again, a lot of players play with mangled fingers. It's just part of the job. I'm not saying it's easy. I saw Domantas Sabonis play with a ligament issue in his thumb where everyone was speculating it needed to be operated on and that it would not get better until the end of the season. And guess what? It didn't get better until the end of the season. And he had a double-double every single night. And that was his thumb, not his pinky, which you would think would give a player more trouble. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I'm a basketball player and you told me I either have to have an injured thumb or an injured pinky, take my pinky. Go ahead. Do not touch my thumb. So I believe that De'Aaron Fox is playing because he knows that he can play. I don't know if he injured his thumb tonight. It kind of looked like that during a sequence in the game. But as far as his pinky goes, if he was going to miss action because of his pinky, it would have already happened. He's not on the injury report because it's not an issue where he's not going to be able to play the next game. Again, unless he injured his thumb tonight. So you can't have it both ways. Yeah, it's not ideal. We know that. A lot of players in the NBA have fingers that are not ideal. He's playing with it. He feels he can play with it. The team feels he can play with it. Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. That's my message. Stop making a freaking mountain out of a molehill. And that's my rant for tonight.
Well done, as always. I would say it was a winner.
I want winners.
That was a winning rant. I do have a question for you. Something I've never asked you, and I think you're the most qualified to answer this. De'Aaron Fox in my lifetime seems like the most polarizing king that I can remember. There is a segment of this fan base that is just diehard attached to him, and I don't remember it that way even through the Richmond days, the 2002 days, not one player in particular. Do you see the same? And if you do, why do you think that is?
Oh, there are players that I have seen fans get emotionally attached to and have in the talk shows and on chat lines or whatever on a daily basis. I mean, DeMarcus was like that. A lot more people talked about DeMarcus than they talk about De'Aaron Fox. Trust me, because I had to do a radio show for 4 freaking hours every day. And quite frankly, it's not even close. In 2002, Chris Webber was the talk of my radio show every single day. Every day. Every single day. It was Chris Webber this, Chris Webber that, Chris Webber this, Chris Webber that. Every single day. You talk about, you use the word polarizing. What we're hearing today, in my opinion, is pale in comparison to what it was like with Chris when he played with the Kings.
Very
That's just
interesting.
my experience from being on the radio every day and dealing with callers every day. That's my experience. Now, I'm not on the radio in Sacramento anymore with De'Aaron Fox right now, so I know that it's a topic of conversation, but I personally don't think it could top what it was like when Cousins played in Sacramento or when Webber played in Sacramento.
See, and maybe I'm too young to remember the Webber talk, but with Cousins, I don't remember it being this franchise can't go on. This franchise, it's a rebuild without this guy. But
every day.
Really? Okay.
Every day.
All right. It just feels different this time. And I'm glad you clarified that. Good to know.
Well, again, that's
People are
my
saying
opinion.
Webber.
It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean that you're wrong. I'm just giving you my opinion from my perspective of being on a 50,000 watt radio station, having a #1 rated show, not to brag, with the majority of Kings fans listening to me. That is my opinion based on how I perceive the situation to be.
I don't think that anybody has a more qualified opinion than that, my friend.
But those 3 players in particular that you just mentioned, Fox, Webber, Cousins, dominated the airwaves every single day.
Yeah. Well, maybe we would have been here to a degree with Fox, but you know, with the podcast, with Draymond and all that, that's what to me kind of has started this De'Aaron narrative to where it's at right now today.
And it's not going to stop either. I mean, it's going to continue. And every time he plays poorly, it's going to be more of a topic. Agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something you said earlier in the show hit though, because the Kings timeline here to figure out what they want to do, to me, my opinion, this summer's kind of the cutoff. You've got to know whether you're ready to tie your rope to him, or if you're ready to sell off into the sunset. And if he's going to be going into a possible surgery, you know, and there's questions about the finger, how does that hurt your value if you decide you want to move on? But you need to get the most from. I just think it's a very interesting situation that we should pay attention to.
It doesn't hurt your value because his injury, if it would require surgery, can be easily repaired and be a non-issue going forward. So the fact that if a team wanted him for next year, training camp at the end of September, October, his pinky would be an absolute non-issue. It would be a non-issue. They would have medical report on it. They'd have x-rays. They'd have their orthopedic surgeon give his opinion, and they would go, oh, yeah, no problem. It will heal, pin here, pin there, no problem. It would be a non-issue.
Yep. You know what? This is a good point, GNV. He didn't say we quit, but he said that it's out of our control. We need help around us. From the rest of the West. That was an interesting comment. So good job by you.
No question. Well, we'll talk more about this coming up during the Knicks game. Ryno will have the pregame show. Jerry joins us at the half. And of course, your phone calls. Stop 2 of this 6-game road trip. And you got the Kings Court tomorrow at 1:00?
Absolutely. We'll be wrapping up the week. Come stop by.
Sounds good. Everyone else, we appreciate you. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Also, hit the like button. I wouldn't make too much out of tonight's game. I really wouldn't.
No.
I don't lose sleep over this, Kings fans. Now, if you don't win in New York or don't play well, then you can get a little nervous. But I wouldn't be nervous based on tonight at all.
I think you got more than you paid for tonight in terms of a game.
I agree. Totally agree. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye-bye now.